Hi, and welcome to another story behind the poem from my first collection, Between Hindsight and Foresight. This week's poem is a poem called Out of Sight. Now, it's a very short poem, and it's a very kind of simple idea that I hope you won't mind. The video will be a little bit shorter than they usually are, but this particular poem has gone through several different versions. Now, one of the things that you need to remember when you redraft old work is that you want to try and make sure you keep as true to the original as you can whilst making it more clear, more refined, whether that's vocabulary or structure or punctuation, syllables, the technical aspects of the poem, which can be improved over time, or with moving away from a truth that is no longer true. So the earliest version of this poem, the earliest version of Out of Sight, was more about a kind of a relationship where we had broken up, but because we were going to school in the same place, we would always run into each other. We would always see each other kind of around. So somebody was out of sight and the relationship was over, but they were always still there. I couldn't forget or move on because of the particular situation. As I got older, the idea of out of sight became a little bit less naive, a little bit less immature, and developed more to reflect something that could apply equally to kind of any relationship, whether it was a romantic relationship or a friendship or a family relationship, whether it was someone who had literally passed on, or someone who had just left, or someone who had moved out of the area, someone that you'd fallen out with, any kind of relationship where you no longer see the person, but you're still kind of haunted by the memory of them. So the revised version of the poem is slightly longer, and it is that whole kind of gone but not forgotten concept. We have memories of the people who come into our lives and leave our lives, regardless of how long they stay in our lives. And just because someone isn't there anymore doesn't mean that they aren't in control of whether or not you think about them. It could even be kind of a toxic relationship, someone who was abusive or unpleasant. If a friendship ended badly, where your trust was betrayed by a good friend, regardless of the nature of the relationship or the nature of the ending of the relationship, just because someone is out of your life doesn't mean that they are completely out of your life. So out of sight does not mean out of mind. And anyone who has been in a relationship where they've been haunted by it would recognize themselves within the poem Out of Sight. On a more technical level, the lack of control felt by the narrator is reflected in both the irregular rhyme scheme and the irregular length of verses. That was on purpose. I believe that the original one was all one stanza, and I'm not sure that there was any kind of rhyme within that first one, or it might have been rhyming couplets. I'd have to look it up, but I'm not sure. I still have a copy of the original. The current version that's in the book is got, it does rhyme, but it doesn't rhyme in a kind of regular pattern, because when we're not in a regular pattern, when a memory of someone can sneak up on us at any time, we don't feel in control. And so the structure and the rhyme was purposely irregular, purposely out of control. It's there, but it's not clear. Just like when we are wandering along and our day is going fine, and then all of a sudden a song comes on our Spotify, or on our song comes on our music player, and instantly we're transported back to another time with another person that is not only not part of our life, but we don't actually want them to be part of our life anymore, but the memory's still there. And it's triggered by something completely out of the blue, completely out of our control. So this whole concept of out of sight And the poem, the story behind the poem, is to kind of express that feeling. So, I hope you've enjoyed this week's story behind the poem. Sorry that this one's a little shorter, but I think we all know what that feels like. So I hope to see you next week for another story of another poem from Between Hindsight and Foresight. Bye.